There is an ancient story told in many ways across time and culture about a man who carried a great stone upon his back. He had picked it up long ago in the name of love, in the name of duty. At first it felt like nothing, a small weight, a manageable burden. But as the years passed, the stone grew heavier. At times he stumbled, at times he fell. But no matter how much it crushed him, he refused to set it down. Because in his mind, to let go would mean failure. To put the stone down would be to admit defeat. So he carried it until one day he looked around and realized something strange. The road he had once walked with joy now felt endless. The sky, once bright and blue, had dimmed. And when he saw his own reflection in a quiet stream, he barely recognized the man looking back. It was only then that he asked himself a question, one that changed everything. What if this weight was never mine to carry? And so, for the first time in his life, he did the thing he feared the most. He let go. And in that moment, something miraculous happened. He did not fall. He did not break. He simply stood taller. The fear of walking away. There is something strange about the way we have been taught to see love. We are told that love is selfless, that love is sacrifice, that love means enduring even when it hurts. And so when a relationship becomes toxic, when love turns to suffering, we tell ourselves, if I leave, I am giving up. If I walk away, I have failed. If I let go, what if I never find love again? But here's the thing, walking away is not losing. Walking away is simply the act of remembering who you are, because a love that demands your suffering is not love. A relationship that asks you to betray yourself is not a relationship. And staying in something that is breaking you is not loyalty, it is self-abandonment. Yet, we hesitate. Why? Because the world has taught us that leaving means loss. But I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine you are holding a piece of glass in your hand. At first it was smooth, beautiful, something precious, but now it is broken. And with every passing day, the edges cut deeper into your skin. And still you hold on. Because you remember what it used to be. Because you think that maybe if you just hold it tightly enough, you can somehow piece it back together. But all that happens is that your hand bleeds, and the longer you hold it, the harder it becomes to imagine letting go. Until one day, you do. And it hurts. Of course it hurts. But as the wounds heal, as your fingers regain their strength, you realize something profound. You were not meant to bleed for love. Love was meant to hold you, not harm you. And the moment you let go of the thing that was cutting you, you made space for something better. Who are you without them? The greatest fear of walking away is not the loss of the other person. It is the loss of ourselves. Because when you have built your identity around another, when you have given them your time, your dreams, your very sense of self, leaving feels like erasing a part of your soul. Who are you without them? Who are you when the routines you built together vanish? Who are you when there is no one on the other side of the bed, no one to text, no one to fill the silence? And yet this is where the magic happens. Because in that silence, in that empty space, something extraordinary is waiting. Not the you that bent and broke to fit into a love that did not love you back. Not the you that made excuses for their cruelty. Not the you that thought pain was a price worth paying to be held. No, the real you, the one who laughed freely before you learned to tiptoe around their moods, the one who dreamed before someone else convinced you to be small, the one who existed before the relationship ever began. That is who you are without them. And in the quiet, in the space where they once stood, you begin to hear something you had long forgotten, your own voice. And oh, how beautiful it sounds. The path of rebuilding. Walking away is not the end of life. It is the beginning of healing. It is the start of learning how to exist not as half of something, but as whole. But make no mistake, it will be hard. You will have days when the loneliness creeps in like a ghost, whispering that maybe you made a mistake. You will have nights where you almost call them, almost text, almost go back. You will wake up some mornings and wonder if you will ever feel love again. And this is the moment where you must remember, you are not empty. You're not broken. You are not unlovable. You are simply in the space between the storm and the sunrise. And the hardest thing, most painful, terrifying, beautiful thing you will ever do is stand in that space and trust that something better is coming. A love that does not hurt. One day, long after you have walked away, after the wounds have healed and the weight has lifted, you will find yourself sitting across from someone new. And it will feel different. There will be no fear of saying the wrong thing, no walking on eggshells, no need to prove your worth. They will not make you feel small. They will not betray you. They will not ask you to bleed just to keep them close. And when that day comes, you will wonder why you ever thought love was supposed to hurt. You will wonder why you ever thought you had to fight for something that should have been given freely. And you will realize that walking away was never about losing them. It was about making space to find yourself again. And in doing so, you open the door to a love that does not need to be survived, but simply lived. Final thoughts, the ocean and the shore. Let's return to the ocean, the one you stood before when this story began. The waves will always rise. They will always pull. They will always try to take you with them. But you're not meant to drown. You are meant to stand on the shore, to walk where your feet are steady, where the ground is firm beneath you. You were meant to be free. And the moment you realize that, the moment you truly understand it, you will no longer fear letting go. Because walking away is not losing. It is simply remembering that you were never meant to carry what was breaking you. It is simply finding your way back to yourself. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a vast and endless ocean. The waves rise and fall in an eternal rhythm, a dance of beauty and destruction. You step forward, letting the water kiss your feet, feeling the cool embrace of something larger than yourself. But then a wave surges, unexpected, unforgiving. It knocks you off balance. You stumble. You tell yourself it was an accident, just a moment of roughness. You take another step. The next wave is stronger. It pulls at you, drags you into deeper waters. You struggle, gasping for air, but convince yourself that it will pass. And then comes the third wave, the fourth, the fifth. By the time you realize what is happening, it is too late. The ocean has swallowed you whole. This is how it happens in relationships. Not in one great catastrophe, but in small, incremental moments. Tiny transgressions, subtle betrayals, until one day you wake up and realize that you have lost yourself in someone else's storm. There are lines that should never be crossed. Some are as clear as the sun on a cloudless day. Others are subtle, like shadows at dusk, blurring the boundary between love and self-destruction. But make no mistake, when these lines are crossed, something fundamental is broken. And if you ever find yourself standing on the shore of such a relationship, staring into the rising tide, you must make a choice. Do you step back, or do you let the waves take you? Line 1, disrespect disguised as love. There is a kind of love that does not build, but erode. It does not lift, but slowly, carefully, insidiously tear down. It starts small, a joke at your expense, a criticism wrapped in affection, a playful insult that stings more than it should. I'm just being honest. You're too sensitive. It's just how I talk. At first, you tell yourself it doesn't matter, that love means accepting each other's flaws, that nobody is perfect. But disrespect, no matter how gently delivered, is a seed, and when planted in the soil of a relationship, it does not remain small. It grows. One day it is a joke about your intelligence. Next, it is a remark about your appearance. Then a dismissal of your dreams, your worth, your very being. Until one day, you are standing in the mirror, looking at yourself, wondering when you stopped believing you were enough. Love does not ask you to shrink. Love does not require you to make yourself smaller so that someone else can feel big. If someone does not respect you, they do not love you, no matter how much they say they do. And if you excuse it once, you will excuse it forever. Line 2, the poison of betrayal. There is an unspoken contract in love, an invisible agreement between two souls. I will not harm you, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Yet there are those who do, not in moments of weakness, but in deliberate choices. Betrayal comes in many forms. It is the partner who cheats and swears it meant nothing, the lover who makes promises they never intended to keep, the one who tells you that you are their world while building another with someone else. And betrayal is not just in action, but in absence, in the one who watches you suffer and does nothing, in the one who turns away when you need them most. Here's the thing about betrayal. It does not come from enemies. It comes from the hands you once trusted to hold you. And it leaves wounds that no apology can heal. Forgiveness is a virtue, but repeated betrayal is self-inflicted pain. There are those who will cross this line once and never again. But there are others, many others, who will cross it as many times as you allow. And with each step, they teach you a terrible lesson, that your pain does not matter, that your boundaries are negotiable, that love is something you must beg for. But love is not a battlefield. And you should never have to fight to be treated with decency. If someone betrays you and you let them back in, know this, they will do it again. Not because you are unworthy of loyalty, but because they are incapable of giving it. Line 3, violence in any form. There are wounds that do not heal. There are words spoken in rage that carve into the soul like a blade. There are bruises that never truly fade, even when the skin has long since healed. And there is a terrifying thing that happens when love and fear become intertwined. You begin to believe that pain is a form of passion, that apologies are enough, that if you just love hard enough, the violence will stop. But let me tell you this as clearly as I can. Violence does not stop. Not when excused, not when forgiven, not when rationalized away. It escalates, it always escalates. It moves from shouting to breaking things, from breaking things to shoving, from shoving to something far worse. And one day you will find yourself standing in front of a stranger who once swore they loved you, wondering how you ever believed that love and suffering could exist in the same space. The first time someone raises their hand against you, the relationship is over. There is no second chance, there is no next time, because next time is worse. And next time you may not walk away. Line 4, isolation from who you are. There is a form of control that does not look like control at all. It looks like concern, it sounds like love, it feels like care. I just want to spend all my time with you. You don't need them. You have me. Net. You don't understand our love. At first, it feels intoxicating, the idea that someone wants you so completely, so intensely. But love is not meant to be a prison. When someone starts to cut you off from the world, from your friends, your family, your dreams, they are not protecting you, they are isolating you. And once they have done that, they can mold you into anything they want. But you were not made to be owned. Love is meant to be wings, not chains. And the moment someone starts to close doors around you, you must walk out before they lock them. Line 5, the destruction of your spirit. There is a final line, one that is the most dangerous of all. It is not visible. It does not come with bruises or scars. It is the slow, steady erosion of your soul. It happens when you stop laughing as much as you used to, when your dreams feel further away than they once did, when you wake up and realize that the person you have become is a stranger to the person you once were. This is not love. Love does not hollow you out. It does not leave you empty. It does not ask you to give away the parts of yourself that make you who you are. If you ever find yourself in a relationship where you feel less alive, less vibrant, less you, then you must ask yourself a simple question. Is this love or is this slow decay? Because love, true love, should feel like a sunrise, not a setting sun. Final thoughts. If any of these 5 lines have been crossed, the relationship is no longer a relationship. It is a slow act of self-destruction. And the question is no longer about whether they deserve another chance. The question is, do you deserve to keep losing yourself? Because the most dangerous illusion of all is the belief that love is supposed to hurt. It is not. And the moment you realize that, you set yourself free. Once there was a man lost at sea. His ship had gone down in a violent storm, swallowed by the abyss, and he found himself clinging to a raft. It was old, battered, barely holding together, but it was all he had. At first it saved him. It kept him afloat, gave him hope, but as the days passed, the wood began to rot. The waves grew restless, the currents cruel. With every passing moment, the raft became less of a vessel and more of a prison, pulling him down into the depths. And yet, he held on, not because it was strong, not because it would save him, but because he could not bear to let it go. This, my friends, is the illusion of second chances. The mirage of redemption. How often do we convince ourselves that love can be fixed? That if we just hold on a little longer, patch up the holes, and endure the turbulence, things will return to the way they once were? It is a beautiful lie, a seductive one, because love, true love, does not beg for repair. It does not require endless second chances, nor does it feed on suffering. Love either flourishes or it withers, and sometimes what we are holding on to is not love at all. It is merely the memory of it. Yet, we tell ourselves otherwise. We bargain with fate, believing that time will mend what was broken, that if we just endure a little more pain, a little more betrayal, a little more neglect, we will be rewarded with the love we once had. But here is a truth many refuse to accept. Some things are broken beyond repair. The trap of sentimentality. One of the greatest illusions that keeps people trapped in toxic relationships is the belief in the sanctity of the past. Think about it. How many people stay in failing relationships not because they are happy, but because they once were? They hold on to the laughter they once shared, the warmth of old embraces, the dreams they built together. They mistake history for destiny, believing that because something was once beautiful, it must always be so. But a flower that once bloomed does not remain in its full splendor forever. Seasons change. And when winter comes, no amount of longing can bring back the spring. A relationship that was once filled with joy can become a source of misery. A person who once cherished you can become the one who wounds you the deepest. Yet people stay, they cling to nostalgia like a shipwrecked man clinging to driftwood, not realizing that what once saved them is now the very thing drowning them. Letting go is not betrayal, it is wisdom, the illusion of control. Another dangerous illusion is the belief that we can change people. How many times have you heard it? They just need time. If I love them enough, they will change. They didn't mean it, they'll be different this time. But here is the raw, unfiltered truth. People do not change unless they want to. No amount of love, patience, or sacrifice will transform someone who is unwilling to see their own flaws. No second chance, no third, no fourth. Will turn a dishonest person into an honest one, an abuser into a protector, a selfish lover into a devoted partner. Change is an internal choice. It cannot be forced. Yet people deceive themselves, believing that if they just endure enough, if they prove their worth, if they show just how deeply they care, they will somehow unlock the version of their partner that they dream of. But that person does not exist, not in the way you wish them to. You cannot sculpt a human being out of hope. You cannot turn poison into nectar simply by drinking more of it. And if someone has betrayed your trust, manipulated your emotions, or broken you down, the chances are they will do it again. The question is not whether they will change. The question is how much more of yourself are you willing to lose waiting for them to? The fear of loneliness. If there is one thing that keeps people trapped in the cycle of second chances, it is this: the terror of being alone. We are creatures of connection. From the moment we are born, we seek warmth, love, and belonging. To be alone feels unnatural, like walking through a vast and empty desert with no oasis in sight. So we settled. We tell ourselves that a toxic love is better than no love at all. That even if we are unhappy, even if we are unfulfilled, at least we are not alone. But here is the paradox. The loneliest place in the world is not an empty room. It is a relationship where you are unseen, unheard, and unloved. It is far better to walk alone in search of true companionship than to lie beside someone who makes you feel like a stranger in your own life. Loneliness is not the enemy, it is a teacher. It is the space where you rediscover yourself, where you heal, where you learn that your worth is not tied to someone else's ability to see it. Do not fear solitude. Fear losing yourself in the presence of the wrong person. The moment of clarity. There comes a moment, a breaking point, when reality becomes undeniable. Maybe it happens in the quiet hours of the night when you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything that has gone wrong. Maybe it happens in an argument when you realize that no matter how loud you scream, they will never truly hear you. Maybe it happens when you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person staring back. That moment, painful as it is a gift. It is the universe whispering, enough. It is the moment when you see through the illusion, when you understand that second chances are not always acts of love. Sometimes they are acts of self-betrayal. And when that moment comes, you have a choice. You can continue to sink, clutching onto the wreckage of a love that no longer exists. Or you can let go. You can turn your face toward the horizon, toward the unknown, toward the possibility of something greater. Because here is the final truth. You do not need to be saved. You only need to save yourself. And that begins the moment you stop giving second chances to someone who has already shown you who they truly are. Final thoughts. This chapter is about opening the eyes of those trapped in cycles of pain and false hope. It is about shaking them awake, forcing them to see that love, real love, does not ask for endless suffering. The illusion of second chances is seductive because it plays on our deepest fears and desires. But true wisdom is knowing when to walk away, not because you are weak, not because you did not try hard enough, but because some things are not meant to be saved. And the moment you accept that, you set yourself free.